So I was lucky enough a couple months ago to meet the voice actor for my favorite character in Hazbin Hotel, the character I am going to be talking about today in this video, and that is Angel Dust from Hazbin Hotel. So the voice actor for Angel Dust and the voice actor for Alistair were both in a convention close to me. I was able to get a picture with the voice actor for Angel Dust, have a little chit chat, make sure he knew that Angel Dust was my favorite character. And now I want to share my love of Angel Dust with you all. So if you like Angel Dust, and you like Angel Dust for a lot of the reasons I'm going to talk about today, you will have some book recommendations with characters in those books that share that trait or multiple traits that Angel Dust also has. Another reason I like Angel Dust is because he has a lot of relatable flaws. Now, I want to be clear on the definition of flaw, at least character flaw, that I'm using when describing this. Character flaw is a negative trait or characteristic that a character or a person can have that negatively impacts their life or their behavior or their relationships or their well-being. So I mostly focus on how a character flaw impacts the character themselves and their ability to connect with others. And Angel Dust has quite a few relatable ones. Like a lot of people, Angel Dust has his own coping mechanisms, and a lot of the time coping mechanisms can be a character flaw. They can negatively impact your life. For Angel Dust, it's his addictions that he uses to cope with his past trauma and currently experiencing trauma. Also, due to his trauma, he has low self-esteem, depression, fear of being his true self. And again, those are only character flaws because they negatively impact your life and your well-being when you have periods of depression and don't think highly of yourself and don't feel like you can be yourself. That negatively impacts your life. He also fears disfigurement or being perceived as unattractive because that is his livelihood. He's been told and shown his entire life that his appearance is important to his survival. Thinks his appearance is the only thing of value that he has. The only thing he can offer anybody is his body, is his looks. Again, only a character flaw because it negatively impacts his life and ability to have healthy relationships. And I think we all experience moments where we don't like how we look, don't feel comfortable being who we really are. And the constant put downs and abuse from Valentino contributes strongly to Angel's believing that he is irredeemable and that he cannot change for the better. It's not possible for him. He doesn't see a hopeful future for himself, at least in the beginning of the series, in the beginning of the first season. And again, only a flaw, only a character flaw, because it literally impacts his ability to think things can get better, to think that his well-being can improve. Some characters I can recommend that also have similar relatable flaws that Angel Dust has would be Jack from the Nadia Stafford series by Kelly Armstrong. If you're familiar with my channel, you'll know Kelly Armstrong is my favorite author, and she writes in a variety of genres and does almost all of them very well. This is one of them. This is her crime thriller series, and Jack is a love interest, one of my most favorite love interests ever in it that she's ever written or that I've ever read from anybody. So for Jack, some of his, again, character flaws that are only flaws because they impact his ability to connect with others and have health and good well-being. One would be his smoking habit. He is Irish and he smokes a lot of Irish cigars and cigarettes, mostly when he's stressed, so he uses that as a coping mechanism. He has trauma of losing his family young and partly blames himself because it only happened because of his involvement in Irish gang life. So because he was involved in a violent life, eventually the violence caught up to him and his family. It's a character flaw because it negatively impacted his life and his family's life. He thinks that he can't get close to anybody because of his occupation, because his occupation is to be a hitman, get hired to kill people. And because of that, he doesn't apologize for the lifestyle he's chosen, but at the same time, he recognizes that that might make him not safe enough for others, not good enough for others. Doesn't feel like he has that right to let people get close because he's already been proven with his family that they could be targeted. He also thinks that he might not be good enough to get close to anybody because of the types of jobs he takes, because there are different morals of hitmen in this world, and some are unscrupulous, as in they'll take any job and kill anybody for good money, and there are some that are a little pickier. They try not to kill innocents and so on, and Jack is a little more in the middle, so he thinks he might not be morally good enough for anyone to get close to him as well in that regard. And then there's Della from Fighting Words, which is a middle grade book by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. She's one of my favorite middle grade authors. Della is the younger sister. I think she's about 9 or 10, I think, in this book. Her and her older sister are in foster care. So there are trigger warnings in this book for SA and child abuse and trauma. Her and her sister lost their mother because their mother was put in jail for her involvement in drug crimes. They got put in the care of her mother's ex-boyfriend, which is no relation to either one of the sisters. Some abuse happened there. Now both girls are in foster care. Della is traumatized from losing her mother, never knowing her father, traumatized from the abuse and mistreatment from being under the care of the ex-boyfriend, and also dealing with the fact that her sister is really hurt and traumatized herself from experiencing SA from the mother's ex-boyfriend, and the fact that her sister is not and can't fully be there for her because she's going through her own trauma. And the character flaw that Della experiences is angry outbursts in the form of swearing, and that's first discovered her doing that at school. Now, for a young kid going through all of that, her character flaw is understandable, but I do mention it because obviously angry outbursts do negatively impact you because they affect your relationships and your overall well-being. But she is young. We do see her in the book. She has help from new adults in her life. Her new foster mother, her therapist, her coach at her school are positive influences that help her actually process her emotions rather than bottling up until she has an angry outburst. And overall, we see her work through her character flaw, which is very minor and understandable for a kid going through everything she's going through. I too had anger issues as a kid. Part of the reason was I didn't feel like I could express myself. I would always put other people's needs and emotions over mine until finally my little kid body couldn't handle it anymore, and I would just blow up and yell and scream. And it was often around my family because I felt safe around my family, and it's interesting how it works that way, how when you feel safe, that's when you act out. But through therapy, I was able to work on that and understand why my young self was that way, what needs weren't being met, and coming up with new ways to meet them. Another reason I like Angel Dust is because he has lots of very meaningful relationships in this series, as in he is a character that almost connects every other character. He's a connective character, if you will. Now, he's maybe not the most, like Charlie also has a lot of connections with a lot of other characters, but Angel also has very close quality moments with a lot of these characters that have some depth to them. And those are the kind of relationships and character moments I want to read about and want to see. His need for validation and connection also makes it so he's able to get deeper and closer quicker than other characters. He's very close with Husk and Cherry Bomb. Some examples of some of these strong character moments that we saw was obviously when he was vulnerable with Husk, when he accepted kindness and support from Charlie in their pursuit to help him be redeemed, to help Heaven accept him and see that Angel Dust has improved, has become healthier. We see him have protective moments and concerned moments for Charlie when he was trying to keep Valentino away from her, and same with Nifty when he was trying to keep Valentino away from her. We see his ride or die friendship with Cherry and how they spoke and interacted. And we also see his relationship with Serpentius grow, and by the end, he's a pretty dedicated wingman for him with Jerry. So some characters I can recommend that also had many meaningful relationships in the plot, and they were the character that had the most meaningful relationships in the plot, would be Dora from Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. Dora has close relationships and is able to connect quick with a lot of the characters. She does only have half a soul, and we do learn pretty quick that because she has half a soul, she doesn't experience strong emotions, and she basically doesn't even feel fear. But we do see that she does still feel empathy she still experiences love. Because of that, we see her put lots of energy and effort into fighting for those she cares about and for those less fortunate. She's protective of her cousin Vanessa because Vanessa was always protective of her. And in fact, Vanessa is her cousin, by the way. Vanessa is the one who protected her from the Fae that was trying to take all of Dora's soul as a kid, but she made it so he was only able to take half of Dora's soul because she intervened in time. And Dora really wants Vanessa to have a happy life. And in this book, they're trying to find Vanessa a suitor, and Dora is trying to help in any way she can to help Vanessa have the life she wants. She helps Elias, who is the love interest in this book. She helps Elias to find a cure for this mysterious sleep sickness that is taking the orphans of England. And often we see these orphans trust Dora the quickest out of all the characters. They seem to gravitate towards her and trust her and see her as safe fairly quick. I think part of it is because she is so calm, because she doesn't feel emotions very strongly, so she's a very calming presence. And it's powerful, the fact that it is made very clear that the book is called Half a Soul. She has half a soul, and how it's supposed to mean she doesn't feel very much. But even only feeling things at half a level, halfway, she still feels things pretty strongly. So that, to me, that shows her as a very strong character with the capability to have very meaningful, deep relationships and connections with others. I'd also recommend Liesel from The Book Thief. She, again, is the connective tissue of that book. She is able to create close, deep relationships with others fairly quickly once safety has been established between the two. She's not automatically trusting, but when they prove to her that they are safe, she goes hard in pursuing connection with them. She lost her parents young. Liesel is in World War II Germany, so pretty unstable time and place to be. She lost her parents, she lost her brother young. She got put in the care of this older German couple, and she didn't trust them at first, but because her new adoptive father was very patient with her and spent time with her, creating a safe space with her, helping her learn to read, she grew to trust him and really care for him. And she sought him out for every problem she had, for every need that she ever had, for every fear she ever had. He was her safe place, and he was the person that helped her through those things. We even see, because she is a book thief, that she's willing to break the rules in pursuit of love and truth, the knowledge that those books have to offer. And it is through her kindness and her pursuit of love and truth that she is able to befriend a young Jewish man on the run from the Nazis fairly quickly and have a very impactful, meaningful relationship with him, because she makes it clear that the rules don't matter if they get in the way of love and truth. Again, Liesel's the connective tissue of this book. If these relationships were not as strong and powerful as they were, the book wouldn't be as good as it is. I'd also recommend Elena Michaels from Bitten and also Mallory from A Rip Through Time, both written by Kelly Armstrong, again, my favorite author. So these are two more series I want to recommend to you. One is an Otherworld fantasy, adult fantasy series, and the A Rip Through Time series with Mallory is a time travel mystery series. Kelly Armstrong's really good at writing her characters, her main characters, as the point of connection for all the characters in her books, which I really like. And part of the reason I think I like Kelly Armstrong's writing so much, because I find stories with too many disconnected characters to be confusing and not as interesting to me. So Elena from the book Bitten is a bitten werewolf. So she wasn't born a werewolf. She got turned into a werewolf, and she develops familial family relationships with the members of the North American pack. So she is close to all of them, will defend and protect all of them, and vice versa. She's even a point of connection for a lot of the antagonists in each of the books as well, because her being the only female werewolf often is a point of interest for a lot of werewolves, because when you're the only thing of something, when you are unique, you tend to be interesting, and that can create potential enemies. And also some of the antagonists are antagonists because of their past history with Elena. So again, she's the point of connection for all characters, even the antagonists. And all of her relationships are full of meaning in their emotional complexity and the stakes they create in the plot. So there's lots of tension, lots of emotion in her relationships, which highly invests me and keeps me reading because I like high stakes, fast paced plots. Almost all of her relationships are full of love, but also some pain from past actions, because most complex relationships have hurt in the past between the two characters, because we are human and nobody's perfect. And the love and the hurt are often at odds in some of her relationships, which creates even more tension, which creates more interest on my part. And it also makes it so that anything affects Elena affects everybody. Because, again, they all have a relationship with her, and she's often the driver of the plot. And then Mallory from A Rip Through Time. She's a modern detective. She gets thrown back into Victorian Scotland. And her occupational experience as a detective and her modern values of respecting people regardless of gender, class, and race allows her to create meaningful relationship with lots of characters, because she sees value in the staff as well as the rich people. Because again, this is Victorian era Scotland, where the class system was going strong. There's no artificial things stopping her from creating relationships with these other characters. And her ability to make connections with others easily is advantageous as a detective, and she uses that to her advantage when solving the mystery of every book. The nice thing about the way Kelly Armstrong writes her female main characters, oftentimes they all want and they all actively seek closeness and depth in their relationships with those they trust. And it's explored so well that me as the reader, I can feel the strength and the vulnerability that comes from those close relationships. I can see that, I can feel that. I get the satisfaction of watching a character want and desire and seek depth in relationships and then get it. And that guaranteed meaningful exploration that I know I'm going to get from Kelly Armstrong's main characters makes me invest greatly in the story. And the last reason I like Angel Dust is the very obvious redemption arc that he undergoes. So the plot of Hazbin Hotel is trying to redeem characters in hell so that they can go to heaven. And in season 1, Angel Dust is pretty much the focus. They literally go to heaven one time and use him as an example for characters that can change for the better. And we saw in the first half of the season, Angel Dust didn't think he was worthy or capable of redemption. But by the end of the series, we see him change for the better, and we see, whether he sees it or not, that he is worthy of redemption, which is satisfying. He starts saying no to partying or drinking or doing anything into excess. He starts standing up to Valentino when he can, especially when it comes to protecting those he cares about or other innocents. It's always satisfying to see a character you care about heal enough to now care for themselves, care for others, have the capability of building connection and building a life that they want. And whenever I say redemption arc, I have to recommend Zuko from the Avatar: The Last Airbender series. Zuko is the most well-known, in my opinion, redemption arc character there is. In the start of the series, we see Zuko seek redemption from his father over everyone else. And then by the end of the series, we see him no longer want redemption from his father. He wants redemption from his uncle and those that he hurt in his pursuit of his father's agenda in the first half of the series. It takes until Zuko realizes who he really is and what he really wants in his life for him to find his true path of redemption. And the other character I'm going to recommend that has a pretty satisfying redemption arc is Mr. Darcy from Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Mr. Darcy starts off the book quite prideful, and in his prideful actions, he unintentionally hurts Elizabeth, and when she points out the things that he did that hurt her, he takes time to reflect on that, and when he sees for himself the hurt he causes and decides that that's not who he wants to be, he starts on a path of making changes in hopes of rectifying those wrongs. Not because he wants to get Elizabeth, but because he wants to be a better version of himself. He wants to change for himself. Elizabeth just pointed out the areas that he can hurt others, and once he understood that, he made the choice for himself to change, which I like. I don't like reading about characters changing for other people. I like characters that change for themselves if they decide they need it. Sometimes people tell you that you need to change, and when you really think about it, you're like, I actually don't need to change, because the changes you want me to make would make me better for you, but not for me. So, very satisfying the way that Mr. Darcy chooses to change for himself in Pride and Prejudice. I like doing these videos mainly in the scripting phase because even I realized some things about my favorite characters that I never took enough time to think about. My love for them goes deeper than I even realized. I'm going to end the video with the same question. I really want to know if any of these books stood out to you. I want to know what recommendations people tend to be taking the most. I tend to recommend a lot of the same books, but that's because I want to recommend books I've rated 4 or 5 stars, because I don't want you to just read a book because a 2-star book had a good character. I want you to read a book because the character was amazing and the whole plot of the book was amazing. And with that, I'm going to end this video. And me and Angel Dust say we'll see you in the next video.